Stephanie Allison, and welcome to this special edition of Our City News. Smart growth is taking over downtown Fitchburg as improvements continue throughout the entire corridor.
And in this special edition of Our City News, we have the Fitchburg Municipal Airport and the dedication of Gerald P. Lombard Field at the runway.
All this and lots more on this edition of Our City News.
And now, the latest news, sports, and weather with Stephanie Allison and the entire Our City News team.
And smart growth, an incredible addition to the city of Fitchburg.
It is. And of course, smart growth has been going on for some time. If you looked at the definition of what the two gentlemen representing the folks in Washington, of course, winning a grant to do this here, one of 6 recipients of 60 applicants throughout the country. Just incredible. But the real nitty-gritty, so to speak, of smart growth includes neighborhoods, building out friendly social environments, and placemaking, which, of course, the mayor talked about, and so many of the folks that are involved with the engineering, the new road systems, places that social gatherings can take place. Just a great symposium over at the Fitchburg State College.
And you actually had a chance to check out some of that placemaking right at the college.
We did, and of course it also means development. And of course this is all about development, economic development, and our residences in those areas where frequently very tight tenement housing has given way to smart growth.
And why don't we take a look at that clip now?
These 2 east side multifamily dwellings are ripe for renovation right here in the city of Fitchburg, and much is going on in that regard. However, abandoned properties still do exist and pose special problems for the city of Fitchburg. Kevin Holder, a manager right here at 102 Myrtle Avenue. Student housing, example right here, a beautiful renovated home. Kevin, good to see you today. I understand there's more to this.
Yes, we have several projects going on in the area. Developing homes for not only students but people in the area, affordable housing, very good for the city. This brings a larger income into the city. We all know that the college is growing in leaps and bounds, and affordable housing is very nice to have here in the community.
And some students, of course, prefer to live off campus. Gives them a little bit more freedom, but it's a really good experience for them.
That's true. It's quite nice to have him move into the neighborhood and develop these homes that have been neglected for many a year. And now to see them come back strong, it's quite honoring to the public here.
Yeah, and we see that he goes right to period detail. He's got some real features to it. And there's a big push of smart growth in the city. There seems to be this renaissance of reinvestment into the city of Fitchburg.
That is true. We see that throughout the community here. Of course, I don't have to say that Fitchburg is a fine city, and this even makes it greater.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin. From Falcon Nests, right here on Myrtle Avenue in the city of Fitchburg. Our City News continues. So, Stephanie, very important to also mention that this is not just university-driven or the university neighborhoods. A lot of our smart growth is taking place west and north of Main Street, west and north of the downtown, but the downtown very much included in all of the build-out that we've already seen. This is about pedestrian walkways, sidewalks, bike lanes, improving transportation not just for automobiles, but to also engage the newest residents of Fitchburg, the build-out and the wind development down on Sheldon and River Street. We had an opportunity to go over there and take a look.
I'm Stephanie Allison, and this is an Our City News special feature about our Smart Growth Corridor. We're here on River Street, which runs right by the yarn mill, and this brand new sidewalks that were done for the Smart Growth Corridor, which promotes more walkable, bikeable, and public transportation options for the city of Fitchburg. Now, the Smart Growth options started in 2011, and Fitchburg was given a $130,000 grant to start these processes.
The Smart Growth zoning district in Fitchburg that the City Council recently passed is an area of the city that is adjacent to the downtown. It has mill buildings, it has the river, it has the rail, and it's actually nestled in a valley amongst a lot of historic neighborhoods. It's an area that there are currently over 1 million square feet of old mill space, space that we would like to see developed. So the Smart Growth District actually creates further incentives for developers to come here, because not only is there commercial and industrial uses allowed by right, but now there will be residential uses allowed by right, and that gives more flexibility to developers as they're looking at these properties.
We've completed the yarn mill, and that's now rentable apartments, which are beautiful, and we have all of these great new sidewalks, and this is all based around the new Wachusett train station.
And Stephanie, it was not that long ago our very own Charlie Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth, was here introducing Wind Development's Knockedge River Mills right here off of Sheldon Street in the city.
Well, this is just a great example of state-local collaboration on an important project to revitalize the neighborhood. And one of the things Karen Polito, Lieutenant Governor Polito, and I talked about a lot when we campaigned was that we wanted to work with local communities, and especially with gateway cities, to help them revitalize their downtowns and certain parts of their urban core. And for us, this project is just a great example of how local folks working with state folks and working with a terrific developer who's done this many times can lead to a terrific outcome. This project is going to be almost 100 units of housing, 60 market and 40 affordable. The building itself has incredible bones. The view people are going to have of the river when this whole thing is done is going to be spectacular, and it's going to be a major addition to this neighborhood.
Our city, of course, travels out on the road to the Yarn Works, which is now leasing up. Incredible apartments available for folks that can walk downtown, do a bunch of things right here in our city. As the smart growth continues, we're going to see more and more of the landscape, streetscape, and these kinds of improvements in the city as we go along.
And they say it takes an army. It's awesome to see previous Mayor Lisa Wong and Governor Charlie Baker pulling together to make all of this smart growth happen right here in the city. It does pull together, and it's been since 2011 since this started.
Right, and you know, it's a 5-year period of time is actually very short, and of course we were able to catch up historically as well with former Mayor Jeff Bean. We're going to see him in just a second, but it takes time, but it's the coordination of effort, funding, and of course the private investment that we saw at Wind Development right up there at the Knockedge River Mills.
Absolutely, and let's see what Jeff Bean had to say.
I think what it means is we have to think forward before we do things. You know, a lot of times, you know, plans are done for where we are today, but we need to think, you know, 5 or 6 years ahead, because things are moving so quickly with technology and other things that you really want to be ahead of the game, and you don't want to be planning just for today. So I see it as thinking forward, looking at, you know, some of the smart technologies that are out there, whether it be, you know, the LED lighting, the bike pathways, making it more walking friendly. Those are the type of things people want. Right. You know, I think it's going to take some adjustment. People are, you know, don't like change for the most part. You know, people like things the way they are. So I know there was a lot of criticism about the rotary at River Street in Maine, but you know, I think people are adapting to it, and before long it'll all work out. But again, you know, change has to happen. The more we can change, the better community we can be, and we have to accept it too. But not without questions. I think there's an opportunity to question, and that's why we have the public hearings, to try and get the public input. You know, in order for us to compete with the region, we really need to be one step ahead of everybody else.
And of course, it was great to see the former mayor, Jeff Bean, now city councilor, over a decade as mayor. So has definitely seen the city, you know, in good times and in bad. And of course, this is very exciting for all of the folks that sit on the council.
And we got a chance to catch up with current mayor, Steve Talley, about what he really thinks about smart growth, and he gets to see it all come to be.
The people of Fitchburg should realize this was such a competitive process. There were only 6 cities that were selected, and that's nationally, the entire country, and we were one of them. They also mentioned that they had never seen as large a group as we had on Wednesday morning up at Fitchburg State University to talk about ideas that help promote and bring back and really focus on place making. That was the key word. To find a reason why you want to be a part of the city of Fitchburg and how we can accentuate our assets. one of them being the river. Some of our architecture that they said is beyond compare. So, you know, over the course of, my lifetime in public service, now as the mayor, you go through a lot of presentations. I mean, that's half of the job, it seems like sometimes. And you walk away and say, well, yeah, that was nice, but this really gave us some tools, the tools that we really need to particularly focus on our downtown and how to bring that back. So I'm thrilled about that, and it gave me a new vision for how we can approach this. And people should understand, these things don't happen overnight. John Robert Smith, who was one of the presenters, was the former mayor of Meridian, Mississippi. And some of the changes that came about in that city, you know, it took place over a span of 14 years. So it didn't happen overnight. But as I think it's the Chinese proverb mentions, the longest journey begins with the first step. And that's what this is going to be. This is the first step.
And the longest journey does start with the first step. I love what the mayor has to say, and that he gets to see all of this happen under his watch.
Well, we see sort of a really transition over the years, maybe 100 years, from the time when pedestrians were king and made it all happen to, you know, involving walkability and bicycle lanes. And bike lanes are something that's happening all over the country. It is part of the plan. All of these federal grants and highway grants require you to take into consideration both pedestrians and bicycles into the mix. This is what smart growth people talk about. They talk about the social interaction of being able to walk somewhere and enjoy it without always having to take your automobile. And, of course, tremendous cost savings, too.
Absolutely. Public transportation is a huge thing in the big cities. Why not bring it here?
Transportation is very much part of the economic growth. It's very much part of the infrastructure that we use to grow as a community. Turning our attention, of course, on a special here, Our City News special, we got a chance to talk more about the dedication of Jerrylombard Field down at the airport. And we're going to have more when we come back.
We'll be right back with more from Our City News on FATV. Watching Our City News on FATV.
And Stephanie, of course, Jerry P. Lombard, state representative, but war hero, flew over 40 missions in World War II, flying a B-71 Fortress. And, you know, these are the American heroes of Fitchburg, full of incredible folks. And just rightfully so that they want to name the field after Jerry.
And they're actually not only renaming the field, they're reworking the field.
They are. They're expanding. And we talked about economic growth and smart growth in terms of what transportation needs there are. Well, including the highest end of the highest end, corporate executives flying in, flying out, making those big decisions. You know, Jerry Lombard, you know, a hero of times, just rightfully being named to that field. Some of his historic work as a veteran of the armed services, he was shot down over Italy and then forced into a ditch, and then ensuing him and being captured, and then earning him, of course, the Flying Cross, which was just an incredible story about a great American hero right here in Fitchburg. In 1944, his B-17 was over northern Italy, and he was captured and became a prisoner of war for a period of time. So as heroes go, Jerry P. Lombard, rightfully so, being named to that field.
And it's wonderful to have his name right here in the city, since he was born in the city of Fitchburg.
And as a state representative, he didn't stop helping people. I know that he knew an awful lot of folks that I know, knew my parents, and he was just one of those folks that never stopped giving. Tragically, we lost him fairly early in his life.
But you had a chance to go and check out the runway that's going to be named after him.
We did. We spoke to Scott Ellis down there, the airport manager at the Fitchburg Municipal Airport, and we have some other interviews coming up as well. Let's take a look at that airport interview now. Is it runway expansion or runaway expansion? Right here in the city of Fitchburg, with me, Scott Ellis, the airport manager, right here at the Fitchburg Municipal Airport. We have jet planes, props, seen some gliders up in the sky, and today even a rotor wing, as they call it, the helicopter, Robinson unit out there. Scott, great to see you in the news today, of course, this expansion for the runway. Tell us a little bit more about what it means to the municipal airport.
Well, right now, the airport opened in 1929, and since then, the runway length has been 4,500 feet. And we're looking to expand that out to about 5,000. 5,000 is really the benchmark that the corporate jets use to decide whether they want to land at a small airport or not. If you can land at 5,000, you can land at 4,500, but they set the line at 5,000. So we're looking to get that extra 500 feet. We're going to go 300 feet in one direction and 200 feet in the other direction, and get that out to 5,000. And that's really going to help bring in some of the corporate traffic, the small jets, to take advantage of the airport's proximity to I-190 and in Route 2. Right now, we do have some small jets that fly in here, and then they go off to meetings at Devon's and other local businesses, and we're really hoping to build on that.
So, of course, there's the business element to it, the ability to get corporate executives and folks in and out quickly because time is of the essence. There is some impact to the residents, but many communities go through this.
Yes, there is some impact to the residents, but one thing that you have to understand is that the peak of general aviation in the United States was back in the 70s and 80s, and there were well over 100,000 takeoffs and landings at this airport every year, and that number's down to about 65,000. So even if we do bring in more traffic, it's never going to be as high as what people have not already experienced.
Yeah, and there you have it right here from the Fitchburg Municipal Airport with Scott Ellis, Airport Manager. More from Our City News coming toward you.
And bringing more into the city with the corporate jets and the expansion of the runway is just going to be incredible.
It will be indeed. Getting back to Jerry, he was released from being a POW in 1945, returning home with a prestigious medal, of course, and oak leaf clusters for his career, doing over 43 combat missions. The average 12 combat missions, just an incredible number.
Mm-hmm. And we actually found some footage of the type of things that he would have been involved in World War II.
This is actual footage, of course, from World War II. Jerrylombard, of course, serving in the Air Force Reserves right up to the year of 1976. Retiring as a lieutenant colonel after 31 years of service in the United States Armed Forces. Just a great, great story once again. During this time, he served as the Dean of the State House of Representatives in Massachusetts and did that for 32 years, and as a state representative was responsible for a lot of legislation that helped Fitchburg out. As you can see, these are incredible historic footage of the old aircraft. They're a four-engine great big B-71 unit, and these are the kinds of aircraft that Jerrylombard, was just involved with every single day of his career in the service. Fitchburg Airport, beginning and opening in May of 1928, with the war again on the horizon. Construction of the Fitchburg-Leominster Airport was essential and largely considered a very important piece of protecting the Northeast. Many charter airlines, like NetJets, have repeatedly used the airport here in Fitchburg for their daily business, and we offer some of the most inexpensive jet fuel in the state and in the New England area, so it's very frequent that folks come here to fuel up as well. So it's good for our economy locally as well. In June of 1943, Leominster connected the airport to the city of Fitchburg, and the airfield became the Fitchburg Municipal Airport. The airport currently serves as a base for the Fitchburg Pilots Association and regularly hosts local aviation-style events.
It's great to see that the Fitchburg Airport is really growing, and it's going to help with the smart growth in the community.
We were really lucky when we were shooting some of the footage. We actually came across P41 Curtis, P40 Curtis aircraft from that era, from the Collingsworth Foundation. We were able to actually get over there and talk to somebody about it, and it was just a happenstance that we happened to be there during that period of time. Worcester, featuring a great big static air display and show this weekend, and of course folks in Fitchburg can still make it down there. It's going to be very reasonable and a lot of fun to see.
And you actually got some good footage of this P40 World War II airplane.
We did. The Curtis P40 with an Allison aircraft engine was an essential part of what won the war, so to speak, and we were able to bump into the pilot that had diverted from landing in Worcester because of the wind on that particular day. So Fitchburg is a crosswind airport. Not sure what that means, not being a pilot myself, but it gave him the opportunity to land that aircraft.
Let's take a look at that footage now.
And right here at the Fitchburg Municipal Airport behind me, a Curtis P40 military aircraft, and to my right, Ron Collings, who flew this in from Detroit. By the way, it is one fuel stop to Fitchburg, Massachusetts from Detroit in this piece of aircraft. Ron, good to see you today. Tell us a little bit about the flight and the historic airplane, and then, of course, what's going to go on with this and other aircraft down in Worcester soon.
Yeah, this is a Curtis P40B Tomahawk. It's a very rare aircraft. It's the only P40B left in the world today, and it has a special history as this aircraft survived December 7th, 1941 in Pearl Harbor. So it's one of the very few aircraft that survived and the only real combat airplane that survived. This aircraft, along with a variety of others, are on display this weekend at Worcester Airport. Today was a little windy to land in there, but we also have a B-17 Flying Fortress, B-24 Liberator, B-25 Mitchell, P-51 Mustang that are part of the tour. In addition, we'll have the P-40, a Spitfire, a Corsair, Sky Raider, and A-36 all on display this weekend. So it's supposed to be an absolutely remarkable weekend, and hopefully the wind will start to die down a little bit.
With any luck, and of course Fitchburg posed a special opportunity for you to land this morning.
It did. It's very windy all throughout Massachusetts right now, and Fitchburg has this crosswind runway that happens to be right into the wind. This airplane doesn't like crosswinds very much, so it was a perfect location.
Well, thank you so much, Ron, and of course, give us the times of that event in Worcester this weekend.
We've about from 9 to 5, Saturday and Sunday. People can come out and take a tour. It's $15 for adults and $5 for kids.
Just 20 minutes to the south in Worcester, of course, a great display of some incredible military aircraft. Glenn Foster, Our City News.
In 1991, the City Council voted to name the airfield Fitchburg Municipal Airport Jerrylombard Field, and it was named after the longtime State Representative Jerrylombard, and he was a World War II aviator. He flew B-17s in the European theater, flew around 40 combat missions. He was shot down twice. Spent some time in a POW camp, was awarded several air medals and Distinguished Flying Cross. And I can think of no other Fitchburg resident that's more suited to name the airfield after.
And what an incredible landing that P40 made. And it was just a stroke of luck that Fitchburg had just the right airport for him.
Well, we're blessed, of course. Fitchburg is just a great place to come, whether you have to come here because you can't go anywhere else, I guess. And so, really, though, so exciting that one of our, former mayors that we had on just a few minutes ago is a pilot. He flies an ultralight, so he has a real appreciation for what this field and the dedication of it means. And Jeff Bean was with us on that.
I knew Jerry as a young man. That's when I first got involved in politics. I knew Representative Lombard then. I remember the big race between he and George Burke when they redistricted, and I went out campaigning for Jerry. But unfortunately, he lost that election. But prior to that, he'd been the dean of the House of Representatives, well-respected, very honest man. There's stories about him when he had a chance to become the Speaker of the House, but because some of the people that wanted to put together this coalition wanted him to guarantee jobs to certain people, he said, no, I want nothing to do with it. He walked away from it because he was, an honest, straightforward individual. A great orator. He spoke very passionately for the death penalty, not only here in Massachusetts, but across the country. He was a speaker. But someone that, when you were around him, you felt the aura of him, the presence. Very honest, very straightforward person who really, wanted to help individuals. And I thought it'd be, I'm glad that this petition is finally coming forward because we want to remember those folks. Similar to Representative Burke, former mayor, we've got a bridge named after him. Haley Bray, a bridge named after him. And I think it's just time that we, recognize people such as Jerry Lombard, who's not only a politician, but a war hero. He got the Distinguished Flying Cross. We heard earlier about, his missions over in World War II, but spending, 14 months in a Nazi prison camp and then coming back. I really think that we need to honor him for his service and for the things he's done for our country.
So the work being done at Crocker Field, the lights have to be replaced. There's somewhere a budget just over $250,000 to $300,000 to replace them with LEDs. The Crocker Field Restoration Committee, Incorporated, has a GoFundMe page. You can find it at Crocker Field, Let There Be Light. This is a FundMe page that has already brought just over $2,700 to that fund. Long way to go, but I'm sure that the city of Fitchburg and the folks in Fitchburg will make that happen.
And the GoFundMe has grown since then.
The last number I knew about was $3,500. We're trying to get an update on that right now. And of course, GoFundMe, right? And it's Crocker Field Let There Be Light. And most folks can find that on the web as they go along. And lots of contributions from the folks in Fitchburg, and we expect there'll be more.
With everything that's going on in Fitchburg, it's great to see that the community is pulling together to embrace this smart growth, to embrace everything that's going on right in the city, and it's a beautiful thing.
And stuff coming up. Riverfront Park, there's going to be a music celebration all over the city next weekend. This is just incredible what's happening.
The Blacksmith Fair?
The Blacksmith Festival is coming up, and that has now, I believe it's in its 9th year, which is just a great tribute to the folks who put it on. And this year it should be bigger and better than ever. Fitchburg Access Television will be live there for a brief period of time. Not all day, but a brief period of time. And we're going to cover some of the Music Fest.
We just got the update, and the GoFundMe is still at the $35,000. $3,500. Sorry about that.
That I knew about? Is that what we learned?
That's the correct number.
So obviously still a lot of time to give, and I'm sure that there'll be some folks jumping on that very soon.
So we'll look forward to all of the incredible events that are coming up right here in the city. And if you haven't gone to any of these events, come on down and you can see what's going on with the smart growth right in the community.
As for now, I'm Glenn Fossa.
And I'm Stephanie Allison. And this episode of Our City News is brought to you by KCMC Management,
our local Dunkin' Donuts franchisee.
And have a wonderful evening.